The Awakening. Discovery of ancient human artifacts on an alien world. Rumors spread about the legendary humans' return. Galactic powers react with fear and curiosity. A human scout ship emerges from deep space. First contact. Tense standoff between human ship and alien fleet. Diplomatic negotiations begin amid mistrust. Humans reveal the reason for their long absence. An imminent threat to the galaxy is unveiled. Forging alliances. Humans share advanced technology with skeptical aliens. Joint military exercises reveal human adaptability. Cultural exchanges lead to better understanding. A coalition forms to face the coming danger. The enemy approaches. First attacks by the cosmic threat. Human strategies prove effective in early skirmishes. Alien races begin to appreciate human ingenuity. Preparations for a major confrontation intensify. Battle for survival. Massive space battle against overwhelming odds. Humans showcase their unique problem-solving skills. Alien allies contribute their special abilities. Sacrifices are made, and heroes emerge. A new era dawns. Aftermath of the Great Battle. Humans are fully integrated into galactic society. Lessons learned from human history shape the future. The galaxy enters a new age of exploration and cooperation. Now, I'll begin writing the first part of the story based on this outline. Part 1. The Awakening. In the vast expanse of the Andromeda Galaxy, on a planet known as Zephyria, an unremarkable day was about to become the catalyst for a galactic upheaval. Dr. Xora, a respected xenoarchaeologist of the Zephyrian Science Academy, stood frozen in disbelief, her 4 eyes wide with shock as she stared at the artifact before her. "It can't be," she whispered, her voice barely audible over the hum of the excavation site's energy field. Her assistant, a young Zephyrian named Vex, slithered closer, curiosity evident in his oscillating antenna. "What is it, Doctor?" Vex asked, his gaze fixed on the object that had captured his mentor's attention. Dr. Xora's violet skin pulsed with excitement as she carefully lifted the artifact from its resting place. It was a small, rectangular device, its surface adorned with strange symbols and a cracked screen. "If I'm not mistaken, Vex, this is a human artifact." The word human sent a ripple of murmurs through the gathered research team. Humans were creatures of legend, a species that had supposedly vanished from the galaxy eons ago, leaving behind only myths and fragmented tales of their incredible deeds. As word of the discovery spread, it reached the ears of the Galactic Council, the governing body that maintained order among the various alien races of Andromeda. In the grand chambers of the Council's headquarters on the planet Nexus Prime, representatives from 100 different species argued vehemently about the implications of this find. Ambassador Zorn, a towering reptilian from the warrior Drakari race, slammed his scaled fist on the polished table. "This is preposterous. Humans are nothing more than fairy tales, stories we tell our hatchlings to scare them into obedience." "With all due respect, Ambassador," countered Elara, the ethereal representative of the telepathic Lumina, "we cannot dismiss this evidence so easily. If humans truly existed, and there's a chance they still do, it could change everything we thought we knew about our galactic history." As the debate raged on, none of the council members noticed the small, spider-like drone that clung to the chamber's ceiling, its singular red eye focused intently on the proceedings. Miles above the planet's surface, aboard a cloaked ship hidden in high orbit, Captain Aria Chen of the Earth Reconnaissance Vessel Horizon watched the feed with growing concern. "Well, that didn't take long," she muttered, running a hand through her short, dark hair. "Looks like our window of anonymity just slammed shut." Her second-in-command, Lieutenant Raj Patel, nodded grimly. "Should we abort the mission, Captain? If they found evidence of us on Zephyria, it's only a matter of time before they start looking closer to home." Arya shook her head, her green eyes narrowing as she studied the holographic display of the council chamber. "No, we stick to the plan. Humanity has hidden for too long. It's time we faced our past and theirs. Back on Zephyria, Dr. Xora worked tirelessly to unlock the secrets of the human device. After days of careful analysis and decryption, she managed to access its databanks. As information flooded her laboratory's screens, her excitement turned to confusion, then to horror. "By the eternal stars," she gasped, her skin fading to a pale lavender. "Vex, look at this. It's a warning." The data contained fragmented records of an ancient war, a conflict so devastating that it had nearly wiped out humanity. But more than that, it spoke of a threat that still lurked in the darkness between the stars, a force so terrifying that humans had chosen to disappear rather than face it unprepared. As Xora and Vex pored over the data, trying to make sense of the ominous message left behind by a long-lost civilization, events were unfolding light years away that would soon plunge the galaxy into chaos. In a system at the very edge of Andromedan space, a lone probe drifted silently through the void. Its sensors, dormant for millennia, suddenly flared to life. Deep within its ancient circuitry, a program activated, sending a signal across vast distances to a destination unknown to any living being in the galaxy. Aboard the horizon, alarms blared as the ship's quantum entanglement communicator received the probe's message. Captain Chen's face paled as she read the decoded transmission. "It's happening," she whispered, her voice tight with a mix of fear and determination. "They're coming back." Lieutenant Patel looked at her, confusion evident on his face. "Who's coming back, Captain?" Arya took a deep breath, steeling herself for the words she never thought she'd have to say. "The reason we've been hiding all these years, Raj. The Harvesters. And if we don't warn the galaxy, there won't be anything left to save." With trembling fingers, she activated the ship's comm system. "All hands, this is the captain. Prepare for emergency protocol Lazarus. I repeat, initiate protocol Lazarus." As the crew of the Horizon rushed to their stations, the ship's cloaking device disengaged. For the first time in over 10,000 years, a human vessel revealed itself to the Andromedan sky. On Nexus Prime, the Galactic Council's debate was interrupted by a frantic aide bursting into the chamber. "Counselors," he gasped, "we're detecting an unknown ship in orbit. It's asking to speak with you." The chamber fell silent as a holographic image flickered to life in the center of the room. The alien representatives stared in shock at the figure before them, a human woman in a crisp uniform, her expression grave but determined. "Greetings, members of the Galactic Council," Captain Arya Chen said, her voice steady despite the weight of history on her shoulders. "I am Captain Arya Chen of the Earth Reconnaissance Vessel Horizon. On behalf of humanity, I come to you with a warning and a plea for alliance. The galaxy stands on the brink of annihilation, and only together do we stand a chance of survival." As murmurs of disbelief and fear rippled through the council chamber, Arya knew that the fate of not just humanity, but all sentient life in Andromeda hung in the balance. The myth of humanity had become reality, and with it came a threat that would test the very foundations of galactic civilization. The awakening had begun, and the galaxy would never be the same. The council chamber erupted into chaos as the alien representatives struggled to comprehend the sudden appearance of a living, breathing human. Ambassador Zorn's scales bristled with a mixture of fear and anger, while Ilara of the Lumina seemed to glow brighter with curiosity and excitement. "Silence," thundered High Councilor Vrix, his gelatinous form pulsing with authority. The chamber gradually quieted, all eyes fixed on the holographic image of Captain Chen. "Human, you claim to bring a warning. Speak, but know that we will not tolerate deception." Arya nodded, her emerald eyes scanning the diverse assembly before her. "Thank you, High Counselor. The threat I speak of is ancient and terrifying. We call them the Harvesters, a force that consumes entire civilizations, leaving nothing but barren worlds in their wake." She paused, letting the gravity of her words sink in. Humanity faced them once, millennia ago. We barely survived, and we spent the intervening years preparing for their return. Now, our deepest fears have been realized. The harvesters are coming, and they're hungry. Skepticism and fear warred on the faces of the council members. Ambassador Zorn stepped forward, his voice dripping with contempt. Convenient, isn't it? You humans reveal yourselves after ends of hiding, spinning tales of unstoppable enemies. How do we know this isn't some ploy to conquer us yourselves? Before Arya could respond, alarms blared throughout the council chamber. A frantic aide rushed in, his tentacles writhing in distress. Councillors, we've lost contact with the Outer Rim colony of New Thalassia. All communications have gone dark. The chamber fell into stunned silence. Arya's hologram flickered as she received the same information aboard the horizon. It's starting, she said, her voice heavy with dread. New Thalassia is just the beginning. We need to act now, or there won't be a galaxy left to save. High Councillor Vrix's gelatinous form rippled with decision. Captain Chen, your ship will be escorted to our orbital station. We have much to discuss. As the horizon docked with the massive space station orbiting Nexus Prime, tension filled the air. Arya led a small delegation from her ship, acutely aware of the distrustful gazes of the alien security forces surrounding them. They were escorted to a grand conference room where the key members of the Galactic Council awaited. Let's dispense with pleasantries, Ambassador Zorn growled as soon as they were seated. You claim these harvesters are a threat to us all. Prove it. Arya nodded to her chief science officer, Dr. Emily Santos, who activated a holographic display. This is what happened to Earth when the harvesters first came, Emily explained, her voice steady despite the horrific images that filled the room. The council members watched in stunned silence as the hologram showed a vibrant, blue-green world transformed into a lifeless husk. Cities crumbled, oceans boiled away, and the very crust of the planet was stripped bare. By the cosmic winds, Elara whispered, her luminous form dimming with horror. How did you survive such devastation? Not easily, Arya replied grimly. We had already begun to colonize other worlds. A fraction of our population managed to escape, to hide. We've spent every moment since then preparing, advancing our technology, and watching for signs of their return. High Councillor Vrix leaned forward, his gelatinous eyes focusing intently on Arya. If what you say is true, why reveal yourselves now? Why not continue hiding? Arya's expression softened slightly. Because we've learned from our past mistakes. Isolation nearly doomed us. This time, we stand a chance only if we face the threat together. United. As if to punctuate her words, another alarm sounded. The holographic display shifted to show a massive object emerging from deep space. A harvester ship, larger than any vessel the Council races had ever encountered. By the eternal void, Ambassador Zorn breathed, his earlier bravado evaporating in the face of the monstrous craft. What could we possibly do against such a thing? Arya stood, her posture straight and determined. We fight. Together. Humanity has developed weapons and defenses specifically designed to combat the harvesters. But we'll need your help, your resources, your unique abilities, your courage. The council members exchanged glances, centuries of mistrust warring with the very real threat looming before them. It was Elara who broke the silence, her telepathic voice resonating in their minds. I sense no deception in the humans. Their fear is real, as is their determination. I vote we hear them out. One by one, the other council members nodded their agreement, even a reluctant Ambassador Zorn. High Councillor Vrix turned to Arya, his gelatinous form rippling with resolve. Very well, Captain Chen. Tell us what you need. Over the next several hours, Arya and her team laid out their plans. They proposed a joint fleet, combining the best technologies and tactics of each race. Dr. Santos explained the principles behind their anti-harvester weapons, while Lieutenant Patel outlined strategies for evacuating vulnerable colonies. As the discussions progressed, the initial tension began to ease. The council members found themselves impressed by the humans' thoroughness and the depth of their preparations. Even Ambassador Zorn grudgingly admitted that their combat simulations showed promise. But it was Dr. Xora's arrival from Zephyria that truly turned the tide. The xenoarchaeologist presented her findings from the human artifact, corroborating Aria's warnings and providing crucial information about the harvester's methods. The data suggests that the harvesters don't just destroy, Xora explained, her 4 eyes wide with excitement and fear. They absorb. They take the essence of entire civilizations, preserving them in some twisted form while eradicating all physical trace of their existence. This revelation sent shockwaves through the assembly. The threat was no longer just to their lives, but to their very legacy, their cultures, their histories, everything that made them who they were. As the newly formed Galactic Defense Coalition began to take shape, the vast differences between its member species became glaringly apparent. Tensions ran high aboard the massive space station that served as the Alliance's headquarters, with conflicts erupting over everything from tactical decisions to mess hall menus. Captain Aria Chen found herself not just a military leader, but a diplomat, mediator, and sometimes even a therapist as she worked to smooth over the myriad cultural clashes. She stood now in the station's main strategic command center, surrounded by holographic displays showing the movement of harvester ships across the galaxy. The Drakari battle group is requesting permission to engage the Harvester Scout ship in the Vega sector, Lieutenant Petel reported, his fingers dancing over the control panel. Harriet shook her head. Denied. We're not ready for a direct confrontation yet. Tell them to maintain surveillance only. Ambassador Zorn, who had taken to shadowing Aria's every move, growled in frustration. You hold us back, human. The Drakari warriors thirst for battle. Let us prove our worth. And if you fail? Aria countered, her green eyes locking with Zorn's reptilian gaze. If the harvesters learn our capabilities too soon, we get one shot at surprising them, Ambassador. We can't waste it. Before Zorn could argue further, Dr. Emily Santos burst into the command center, her eyes bright with excitement. Captain, we had a breakthrough. All eyes turned to the human scientist as she activated a holographic display. We've been working with the lunar telepaths and Zephyrian bioengineers to develop a defense against the harvester's absorption technology. Look at this. The display showed a simulation of a harvester beam attempting to dissolve a planet. But instead of disintegrating, the planet's surface shimmered with an iridescent shield. It's a psychic bionic barrier, Emily explained. It taps into the collective consciousness of a planet's inhabitants, creating a field that the harvesters can't penetrate. The more diverse the population, the stronger the shield. A murmur of amazement rippled through the assembled aliens. Even Ambassador Zorn looked impressed. Ingenious, he admitted grudgingly. But can it be implemented on a large scale? Aria turned to Ilara, who had been quietly observing the proceedings. What do you think? Can your people help set this up across multiple worlds? The luminous being pulsed thoughtfully. It will be challenging, but yes. With the aid of Zephyrian biotechnology and human engineering, we can create a network of psychic amplifiers, but it will require complete cooperation from every species. Then that's our priority, Aria decided. Dr. Santos, work with Ilara and the Zephyrian team to begin implementation. Ambassador Zorn, I need the Drakari to provide security for the installation teams. For once, Zorn didn't argue. He simply nodded, a newfound respect glimmering in his eyes. As the weeks passed, the coalition grew stronger. Joint military exercises revealed the incredible adaptability of human tactics when combined with alien technologies. The Drakari's raw power, tempered by human strategy and enhanced by Lumina foresight, proved to be a formidable combination. Cultural exchanges began to bridge the gaps between species. Humans shared their art, music, and literature, long hidden from the galaxy. In return, they marveled at alien philosophies and scientific theories that challenged their understanding of the universe. Aria found herself in the midst of one such exchange, attending a Zephyrian ceremony aboard the station. Dr. Xora was explaining the significance of the ritual to a group of human and alien observers. "This marks the passing of knowledge from one generation to the next," Sora said, her 4 eyes blinking in sequence. "It is how we preserve our history, our very essence." As Arya watched the beautiful ethereal dance of light and color, she couldn't help but think of the Harvester's threat to erase entire civilizations. This was what they were fighting for, not just survival, but the right to exist, to grow, to pass on their legacy. Her musings were interrupted by an urgent message from Lieutenant Petal. "Captain, we're detecting unusual activity in the Orion sector. You need to see this." Excusing herself, Arya rushed to the command center. The main display showed a harvester ship, but it was behaving oddly, moving erratically and emitting strange energy signatures. "What are we looking at, Raj?" Arya asked, studying the readings. "We're not sure," Patel admitted, "but it seems to be malfunctioning somehow." Dr. Santos, who had joined them, leaned in closer to the display. "Those energy readings, they're similar to the psychic bionic barrier we've been developing. But how?" A theory began to form in Arya's mind. The Harvesters absorbed civilizations, right? What if something they absorbed is fighting back? The implications were staggering. If there was a way to disrupt the Harvesters from within, it could change everything. "We need to capture that ship," Arya declared, "intact." Ambassador Zorn, who had been listening silently, stepped forward. "The Drakari volunteer for this mission. Our ships are the fastest and most maneuverable. We can disable the Harvester vessel without destroying it." Arya nodded, grateful for the Drakari's eagerness to prove themselves. "Do it, but take a joint team. We'll need Lumina telepaths to help contain whatever's inside, and human scientists to study it." As the strike team prepared for their mission, a palpable sense of anticipation filled the station. This could be the turning point they'd been hoping for, a chance to gain a real advantage against the seemingly unstoppable enemy. Arya watched from the command center as the sleek Drakari ships surrounded the malfunctioning Harvester vessel. With precision and skill, they disabled its propulsion systems and brought it to a halt. "Boarding team is away," Pater reported, his voice tense with excitement. For agonizing hours, they waited for news. Finally, the communication channel crackled to life. "Command, this is boarding team leader. You're not going to believe what we found in here." The image that appeared on the main screen left everyone in stunned silence. Inside the Harvester ship was a swirling mass of energy, coalescing into recognizable shapes, plants, animals, and sentient beings from 1,000 different worlds. It's like a cosmic zoo," Dr. Santos breathed. "Every civilization they've ever harvested, preserved somehow." Arya's mind raced with the possibilities. Can we restore them? Before anyone could answer, alarms blared throughout the station. Lieutenant Petal's face paled as he read the incoming data. "Captain, we're detecting a massive Harvester fleet entering the galaxy. They're heading straight for us." The moment of triumph was short-lived. The true battle for the galaxy was about to begin, and the fledgling alliance would be tested like never before. Arya straightened her shoulders, meeting the gaze of each being in the command center. "This is what we've been preparing for," she said, her voice steady and determined. "Send out the call. All coalition forces to battle stations. It's time to show the Harvesters that this galaxy will not go quietly." As the Alliance mobilized for war, the captured Harvester ship hung in space, a testament to what they were fighting for, not just their own survival, but the preservation of countless civilizations, past and present. The fate of the galaxy now rested in the hands of this unlikely coalition, united by the myth of humanity turned reality. The greatest challenge lay ahead, but for the first time since the Harvester's return, there was a glimmer of hope in the darkness of space. The vastness of space erupted into chaos as the Harvester fleet entered the galaxy. Thousands of massive ships, each capable of consuming entire worlds, poured through the breach in reality they had torn open. The sight was both terrifying and awe-inspiring, a dark promise of destruction on an unimaginable scale. In the Coalition's command center, Captain Aria Chen stood at the helm, her face illuminated by the glow of tactical displays. Around her, representatives from every allied species worked in frantic harmony, their differences forgotten in the face of annihilation. Status report. Aria commanded, her voice steady despite the weight of billions of lives resting on her shoulders. Lieutenant Petel's fingers danced across his console. The Harvester Vanguard has engaged our outer defense line in the Hercules cluster. Coalition forces are holding, for now. Ambassador Zorn, now fully committed to the alliance, growled low in his throat. We should strike at their heart while they're spread thin. The Drakari battle groups stand ready. Aria shook her head. Not yet. We need to draw them in, make them commit fully before we reveal our true strength. She turned to Ilara, the Lumina representative. How are the psychic bionic shields holding up? Ilara's luminous form pulsed with concentration. They're stable, but untested against a full Harvester assault. We're channeling all the mental energy we can spare. As if on cue, alarms blared throughout the command center. Dr. Santos rushed to her station, her eyes wide with shock. Captain, the Harvesters, they're not just attacking our fleets. They're targeting specific planets. The main holographic display shifted to show a terrifying scene. 3 Harvester ships had surrounded a heavily populated world in the Orion sector. Beams of sickly green energy lanced from the alien vessels, enveloping the planet in a ghostly shroud. By the cosmic winds, Ilara whispered, her glow dimming with horror. They're beginning the absorption process. Aria's mind raced. This was happening too fast, too soon. They needed more time. But as she watched the planet's defenses crumble, she knew they were out of options. This ends now, she declared, her voice ringing with determination. All Coalition forces converge on the Orion sector. It's time to show the Harvesters what we're made of. As the order went out, ships from a dozen different species jumped into action. Drakari battlecruisers led the charge, their powerful weapons blazing trails of destruction through the Harvester lines. Zephyrian stealth ships darted between the massive enemy vessels, planting devastating biobombs that ate through alien hulls. In the midst of the chaos, the Horizon, Aria's own ship, spearheaded a daring assault on the Harvesters attacking the besieged planet. Dr. Santos, are the new weapons ready? Aria asked as they closed in on their target. Emily nodded, her face set with grim determination. As ready as they'll ever be, Captain. Let's hope the simulations were accurate. As they approached firing range, Aria gave the command. All ships deploy anti-absorption charges. Let's give these monsters a taste of their own medicine. Swarms of sleek missiles erupted from the Coalition ships, streaking towards the Harvester vessels. Upon impact, they didn't explode. Instead, they latched onto the alien hulls, pulsing with an eerie blue light. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, with a sound that seemed to shake the very fabric of space, the Harvester ships began to unravel. It was as if they were being unmade, their very essence scattered to the cosmic winds. A cheer went up from the Coalition forces as they watched the enemy ships disintegrate. But their celebration was short-lived. The main Harvester fleet, alerted to the loss of their vanguard, was changing course. They were coming in force, and they were angry. Back in the command center, Aria allowed herself a small smile of satisfaction. They've taken the bait. Now for Phase 2. She turned to Ambassador Zorn. Ambassador, it's time. Unleash the Drakari battle groups. Show them the full might of your people. Zorn's reptilian features split in a fierce grin. With a roar that would have curdled the blood of lesser beings, he relayed the order to his forces. From hidden positions throughout the sector, Drakari ships of all sizes emerged. They had been lying in wait, cloaked by Zephyrian technology and shielded by luminous psychic screens. Now they struck with the full fury of a warrior race with millennia of pent-up aggression. The space around the Harvester fleet erupted into a maelstrom of weapons fire and explosions. Drekari ships, their hulls gleaming with a mix of scales and advanced alloys, tore into the enemy with reckless abandon. But the harvesters were not so easily defeated. As the battle raged, they began to adapt, their ships morphing and changing to counter the coalition's tactics. "Captain," Lieutenant Patel called out, his voice tight with tension, "the harvesters are deploying some kind of energy-draining field. Our ships are losing power." Aria's mind raced. They had anticipated this, but not so soon. "Activate the quantum entanglement generators," she ordered. "Redirect all non-essential power to weapons and shields." As the coalition ships flickered momentarily, drawing power from an alternate dimension, the tide of battle began to turn once more. But the cost was high. Reports of casualties and lost ships poured in from all fronts. In the heart of the conflict, aboard the horizon, Aria felt the weight of every life lost. But there was no time for grief or doubt. The fate of the galaxy hung in the balance. "Dr. Santos," she called out, "what's the status on the captured harvester ship? Have we made any progress in communicating with the inhabitants?" Emily's face appeared on a nearby screen, streaked with sweat and grime. "We've made a breakthrough, Captain. The absorbed civilizations, they're not just memories. They're alive in a sense, and they want to help." Aria's heart raced with the implications. Can they fight? Can they turn the harvesters against themselves? "Possibly," Emily replied, her eyes shining with excitement and fear. "But it's risky. We don't fully understand the technology. If we lose control..." "We don't have a choice," Aria decided. "Do it. Give them whatever they need to fight back." As Emily and her team worked frantically to unleash a force they barely understood, the battle continued to rage across the sector. Coalition ships fought with desperate valor, but for every harvester vessel they destroyed, 2 more seemed to take its place. Just when it seemed the tide was turning irrevocably against them, a new signal burst across all frequencies. It was unlike anything they had ever heard, a symphony of 1,000 alien voices, all crying out in defiance. Aboard the harvester ships, chaos erupted. Systems went haywire, weapons turned on their own vessels, and entire sections of the massive craft simply ceased to exist. "It's working." Emily's voice crackled over the comm. "The absorbed civilizations are fighting back from within." As the coalition watched in awe, the harvester fleet began to crumble from within. Ships collided with each other, their coordinated movements descending into madness. Others simply winked out of existence, as if they had never been. But the victory came at a cost. The captured harvester ship, the source of their unexpected allies, began to glow with an intensity that threatened to outshine the nearby stars. "It's overloading," Emily reported, her voice tight with fear. "We can't control it." Aria made a split-second decision. All ships, fall back. Get clear of the blast radius. As the coalition forces retreated, the captured harvester ship exploded in a burst of energy that rippled across space-time itself. When the light faded, a massive void was left where the heart of the harvester fleet had been. In the sudden, eerie silence that followed, Aria surveyed the battlefield. The remaining harvester ships, cut off from their main force and under attack from within, were in full retreat. They had won. Against all odds, the coalition had driven back the greatest threat the galaxy had ever known. But as reports of the devastation began to pour in, Aria knew that their struggles were far from over. The myth of humanity had proven true. They had united the galaxy and faced down an implacable foe. But now came the hard part: rebuilding, healing, and preparing for the day when the harvesters would inevitably return. As she looked out at the stars, forever changed by the battle they had just fought, Aria Chen allowed herself a moment of hope. They had taken the first step towards a truly united galaxy. Whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together. The age of isolation was over. The age of unity had begun. The aftermath of the great battle in the Orion sector left the galaxy in a state of shocked elation. The harvester threat had been pushed back, but at a tremendous cost. Countless lives had been lost, worlds lay in ruins, and the very fabric of space-time had been warped by the energies unleashed in the conflict. In the weeks that followed, Captain Aria Chen found herself at the center of a whirlwind of activity. The Coalition Command Center had been transformed into a hub of reconstruction efforts, with representatives from every allied species working tirelessly to coordinate aid and rebuild shattered worlds. The Zephyrian bioengineers have successfully stabilized the atmosphere on Novus Prime, reported Dr. Sora, her 4 eyes blinking in rapid succession. But there are dozens more worlds in need of similar intervention. Aria nodded, studying the holographic display of affected systems. Prioritize habitable worlds with surviving populations. We need to shore up our defenses in case the Harvesters regroup for another assault. Ambassador Zorn, his scales still bearing the scars of battle, growled in agreement. The Drakari have begun constructing a network of early warning beacons along the galaxy's outer rim. We will not be caught unprepared again. As the coalition leaders discussed strategy, alarms suddenly blared throughout the command center. Lieutenant Pertel's fingers flew across his console, his face paling as he read the incoming data. "Captain," he called out, his voice tight with urgency. "We're detecting massive spatial distortions in the Cygnus arm. It's like nothing we've ever seen before." The main display shifted to show a terrifying sight. Space itself seemed to be tearing apart, reality warping and buckling as if under immense pressure. And through these cosmic wounds, shapes were emerging. Harvester ships, but different. Evolved. Deadlier. "By the eternal void," Elara whispered, her luminous form dimming with horror. "They've adapted. They're using the very fabric of space-time as a weapon." Aria's mind raced. They had hoped for more time to recover, to prepare. But the Harvesters had other plans. "This is it," she declared, her voice carrying across the suddenly silent command center. "The true test of our alliance. All coalition forces, battle stations, this is not a drill." As the call to arms went out across the galaxy, ships from every allied species scrambled to meet the new threat. But even as they mobilized, reports came in of entire star systems simply vanishing. The Harvesters weren't just destroying worlds now, they were erasing them from existence. Aboard the Horizon, newly refitted with technology reverse-engineered from the captured Harvester ship, Aria stood on the bridge, watching as the combined fleet of the Coalition gathered around them. "All ships reporting ready, Captain," Lieutenant Patel announced, his voice steady despite the tension evident in his posture. Aria took a deep breath, keenly aware that the next orders she gave could determine the fate of every living being in the galaxy. "Deploy the quantum entanglement shields," she commanded. "Prepare to engage the enemy on my mark." As the Coalition fleet advanced towards the tiers in space-time, the full might of the Harvester Armada revealed itself. Thousands upon thousands of ships poured through the rifts, each one a nightmarish amalgamation of organic and mechanical parts. The battle that ensued was unlike anything the galaxy had ever witnessed. Coalition ships darted between spatial rifts, their weapons blazing trails of destruction through the Harvester ranks. Drakari battlecruisers led daring charges, their hulls glowing with the power of a dozen suns. Zephyrian stealth ships wove intricate patterns through the chaos, deploying experimental weapons that turned the Harvesters' space-time manipulation against them. But for every small victory, the Coalition faced devastating losses. Entire battle groups disappeared in flashes of twisted light, erased from time and space. Planets caught in the crossfire were reduced to cosmic dust, their histories and futures snuffed out in an instant. In the heart of the maelstrom, the Horizon fought with desperate valor. Aria's voice rang out over the comm, coordinating attacks and rallying faltering allies. "Lumina telepaths, focus your efforts on disrupting the Harvester's hive mind," she ordered. "Drakari shock troops, prepare for boarding actions. We need to take out their command ships from the inside." As the battle raged on, Dr. Emily Santos worked feverishly in the Horizon's lab, attempting to weaponize the knowledge gained from the captured Harvester ship. "Captain," she called out, her voice strained with exhaustion and excitement, "I think we've cracked it. We can use the quantum entanglement generators to create a feedback loop in their space-time manipulation tech." "In basic, Doctor," Arya replied, ducking as a nearby console exploded in a shower of sparks. "We can turn their own rifts against them," Emily explained, "collapse their entry points and trap them between dimensions. But it's going to take more power than we've ever generated before." Arya's mind raced, weighing the risks against the increasingly dire situation. "Do it," she decided. "Divert all non-essential power to the quantum generators, and get me a direct line to every ship in the fleet." As Emily and her team rushed to implement their desperate plan, Arya's voice rang out across the coalition frequencies. "This is Captain Chen to all Allied forces. We have one shot at ending this. On my mark, divert all power to your quantum entanglement systems and target the nearest space-time rift. Together, we can seal the harvesters out of our reality." For a moment, the cacophony of battle seemed to dim as every being in the coalition considered the weight of what they were about to attempt. Then, one by one, confirmations began to pour in. "The Drakari stand with you, human," Ambassador Zorn's gravelly voice declared. "The Lumina will channel all our psychic energy into this effort," Ilara added, her telepathic voice resonating with determination. As the coalition ships moved into position, the harvesters seemed to sense that something had changed. Their attacks intensified, reality itself buckling under the onslaught of their space-time weapons. "Now," Arya shouted, her voice carrying across the void of space, "give it everything you've got." In that moment, every ship in the coalition fleet lit up like a newborn star. Beams of pure energy lanced out, connecting with the rifts torn in the fabric of space-time. For a heartbeat, nothing seemed to happen. Then, with a sound that seemed to shake the very foundations of the universe, the rifts began to close. Harvester ships caught in the collapse were twisted and torn apart, their unearthly screams echoing across dimensions. But the strain on the coalition fleet was immense. Ships began to buckle and break, their hulls unable to contain the incredible energies they were channeling. On the horizon's bridge, consoles exploded and support beams groaned under the stress. "We can't hold it much longer," Lieutenant Patel shouted over the din, his hands flying across what remained of his controls. Arya gritted her teeth, every fiber of her being focused on maintaining the connection. "Just a little longer," she ground out. With a final, reality-shaking burst of energy, the last of the rift sealed shut. The remaining harvester ships, cut off from their home dimension and the bulk of their fleet, found themselves surrounded by a battered but unbroken coalition armada. As the dust settled and damage reports began to pour in, the true cost of their victory became clear. Entire sectors of space had been rendered uninhabitable, countless lives had been lost, and the very nature of reality in their galaxy had been forever altered. But they had won. The harvester threat had been neutralized, at least for now. As Arya looked out at the scared but healing galaxy, she knew that their greatest challenge lay ahead. They had survived, against all odds. Now they had to learn to live in this new reality they had created. The myth of humanity had not just been proven true, it had been transcended. In uniting the galaxy against an impossible foe, they had forged something entirely new, a coalition of species ready to face whatever the universe might throw at them together. The battle for survival was over. The battle for the future was about to begin. In the cycles that followed the great battle against the harvesters, the galaxy entered a period of unprecedented change and growth. The scars left by the conflict were deep, but so too was the bond forged between the once disparate species of the coalition. Captain Arya Chen, now Admiral Chen, stood at the viewport of the newly constructed Unity Station, a massive structure that served as both the headquarters for the Galactic Coalition and a symbol of their shared future. The station orbited a pristine world that had been jointly terraformed by all member species, each contributing their unique expertise to create a truly neutral ground for intergalactic cooperation. "Quite a view, isn't it?" came a familiar gravelly voice. Ambassador Zorn, his scales now bearing the intricate markings of a Drakari elder, joined Arya at the viewport. Arya nodded, a small smile playing on her lips. Sometimes I still can't believe how far we've come. Below them, the planet teemed with life. Cities that blended architectural styles from 100 worlds sparkled in the light of the system's twin suns. In orbit, ships of all shapes and sizes went about their business, a testament to the thriving trade and cultural exchange that had become the norm. The council is assembling, Zorn reminded her. It's time to address the matter of the fringe worlds. As they made their way to the Grand Council chamber, Arya reflected on the challenges they still faced. While the core systems of the coalition had flourished, there were still pockets of resistance, worlds that viewed the new galactic order with suspicion or outright hostility. The council chamber was a marvel of engineering and diplomacy. Representatives from every member species sat in a perfect circle, their seats adjusted to accommodate beings of all shapes and sizes. At the center stood a holographic projection of the galaxy, highlighting the areas under discussion. As the Watcher's ship docked with Unity Station, heralding the beginning of a new chapter in galactic history, Arya felt a sense of both excitement and trepidation. The myth of humanity had evolved into something far greater, a testament to the power of unity, adaptability, and hope in the face of overwhelming odds. Whatever lay beyond their galaxy, whatever challenges or wonders awaited them in the cosmic ocean, they would face it as one. Humans, Drakari, Lumina, Zephyrians, and countless other species, bound together by shared experience and a common vision for the future. The age of isolation was long past. The age of unity had flourished. Now, as they prepared to step onto a galactic stage they had never imagined, a new age was dawning, the age of cosmic citizenship. As Arya prepared to greet their new visitors and lead her people into this brave new era, she couldn't help but smile. The journey that had begun with a single human artifact discovered on a distant world had led them here, to the threshold of a universe of possibilities. The legend of humanity had become the story of an entire galaxy, and that story was far from over. In fact, it was just beginning.